Olmec civilization. Untold truths of the mysterious giant heads. For 2,000 years, these faces waited in the wet, warm dark, eyes half-lidded, mouths steady as if holding back a sentence. People called them gods, aliens, proof of lost races. But the truth hidden in the basalt is stranger and more human. These aren't deities from the sky. They're kings, individuals, men whose power was heavy enough to outlive their bones. Tonight, we'll let the stone speak. The first face. In the mid-19th century, a farmer near the Gulf Coast of Mexico pushed through brush and hit stone. Not a boulder, a brow, a cheek, a lip. This was the world's first modern glimpse of an ancient tradition. The colossal heads of the Olmec, scattered from swamps and hillocks like sleeping giants. They stand as tall as a person and weigh as much as a truck. Each one wears a close-fitted helmet. The lips are full, the nose is broad, the cheeks fleshy. At first, scholars were baffled. Who carves a head? And only a head? Why no bodies? Why the helmets? Why so many different faces? Pieces of the puzzle lay all around the Gulf lowlands. San Lorenzo, La Venta, Tres Zapotes, early centers of power from roughly 1400 to 400 BCE. And the stone, not local. Basalt born in faraway volcanoes. Somebody wanted these faces here and had the power to make the earth itself move. Moving mountains. Imagine the order it takes to command a mountain. First, scout the basalt flows in the Tuxtlas. Next, split a core, 10, 15, even 20 tons, without metal tools. Then, lashing, rollers, earthen ramps, and the river, always the river, leveling the route like a liquid road. This wasn't weekend art. This was a logistics operation. Planners, engineers, ritual leaders, teams of workers hauling the future portrait of a ruler across miles of heat and biting insects. They didn't carve a random face, they carved authority. Tool marks show the method. Percussion pecking and grinding. Look closely under the lip on the ear spools. You'll see fine finishing that turns the rock supple, almost like skin. These are not generic Olmec faces. Each head is unique. The helmet and the name. If you line the heads up, patterns jump out. The helmets vary, some with chin straps, others with knotted bands or motifs. Ear ornaments change too. Jaw lines, dimples, crow's feet. Different every time. Archaeology isn't guesswork when the evidence stacks. These are portraits, not gods, not ancestors in the abstract. Individuals. And the helmet? Two clues converge. First, the Mesoamerican ball game, older than Rome, older than most empires, was already sacred in Olmec times. Players wore padded gear, head protection, and status regalia. Second, rulers across Mesoamerica loved a metaphor. The king as the ultimate ball player, the one who keeps the cosmic game in motion. A ruler wearing a player's helmet isn't a sports highlight. It's cosmic branding. The message in stone, I keep the world turning, I win the match between life and chaos. Look at the eyes, slightly downcast on one, stern and forward on another. One mouth presses tight, another lifts into the barest smirk. When you see them up close, the myth dissolves and the humanity floods in. You're meeting people. Powerful, yes, but people. Thrones, altars, and speech. The heads don't stand alone. Nearby are thrones, massive blocks with deep niches, as if someone once sat within a stone cave. Some show a ruler emerging from the mouth of a serpent or earth monster, grasping ropes tied to captives. Now imagine the ceremony. The ruler sits in the niche, flanked by attendants, incense spiraling. A colossal head faces the crowd, the king's face doubled at superhuman scale. The stone doesn't speak, but it makes people listen. At night, torchlight turns cheeks into cliffs and lips into ledges. This was propaganda before paper, art as infrastructure. Every head says, power is here, it is singular, it is me. Recycling kings. One of the strangest truths hides in the stone's past lives. Some colossal heads were carved from earlier monuments, even from thrones. Regimes rise, regimes fall. The new ruler takes the old ruler's seat and turns it into a face of himself. That's not vandalism. That's politics. Taking the literal seat of power and reshaping it into your portrait is a manifesto in rock. Your time is over. Mine begins now. Look for flattened areas, unusual seams, or traces of former reliefs. The stone remembers every king, whether he wants to be remembered or not. Where the heads stood. We tend to imagine these heads as isolated. They weren't. San Lorenzo rose in platforms and ridges, engineered with drains and basins, water managed like a living sculpture. Venta spread out as a ceremonial axis, lined with buried mosaics, jade offerings, and earthen pyramids. Place a head at a plaza edge, and you create a gaze line, a ritual checkpoint, a guardian. Heads weren't traffic cones. They were the architecture of power. And here's a detail people miss. Some were intentionally reburied or moved. When capitals shifted, the stone entourage followed. The ruler's image traveled, keeping loyalty on a leash of memory. Debunking the myths. So let's clear the fog. Were they aliens? No. Tool marks, quarry sources, and context anchor them here in human hands. Were they generic gods? The faces contradict that. Each head is someone. The helmets and ear spools are coated with personal regalia. Were they proof of distant continents? The features reflect artistic realism merged with stylization found across early Mesoamerica. The real miracle isn't foreign contact, it's local genius. The deepest truth is simpler and more unsettling. Power needs a face. The Olmec carved it big enough to outstare time. The afterlife of stone. Today, some heads live behind glass and climate control. Others still breathe the Gulf air. People stand before them and go quiet. The stone does what it was carved to do, insist on presence. Think of the unnamed sculptors, the hammerers and haulers. The priests who measured days, the workers who felled trees for rollers, the navigators who read flooded rivers like maps. The king's face is the headline, but the byline is 1,000 hands. The intimate look. Find the smallest detail, a carved dimple, a notch that might indicate a scar. We'll never know their private jokes, the timbre of their voices, the way the sun felt on the day they were crowned. But the sculptors left us more than a likeness, microbiographies in basalt. You're not staring at mystery. You are witnessing the oldest political technology on the continent, the ability to make a single life look eternal. Closing image. Across the lowlands, rivers still carry stories. The Olmec learned to steer stone like a promise, and they left us faces that still keep watch. Not gods, not ghosts, rulers, speaking in a language of weight, shadow, and patience. And if you listen long enough, you'll hear the line every leader longs to say echo through the centuries. Remember me. Beat. Fade to black.